Hello, Professor Wardway here regarding the weekend seminars for the AREs, the Architectural Registration Exam, offered by NCARB, National Council of Architectural Registration Boards, located back in Washington, D.C. And I want to talk a little bit about the subjects that we cover for the weekend. We do all 7 seminars, and in some states we do it twice a year, and in most states we only do it once a year. And we go through all 7 seminars as a review, because most of you have gone to the universities and colleges and learned the subjects and such. This should be a review for someone to sign up for 18 weeks for a structured course after they've gone through and got their degrees and put their intern time in. I don't understand that. It should really be a review. And so we go through and we take a look at all the areas that you're tested on. The candidate is tested on by NCARB, all right? And usually there's about 6 or 7 areas that NCARB focuses on, and that would be practical application, utilizations, calculations, and formulas and such on some subjects. And then we go into talking about theory and history regarding that particular subject. And then the responsibilities of each party in the project as well, and also procedures that they need to follow. What to say, what not to say, how to document and communicate. We'll go through test-taking techniques as well. We'll talk about the ways that NCARB tests as well. And so we talk about all of that information in the weekend subject. Now, for example, one of the subjects might be building construction and building design and construction systems, and the old title was materials and methods. Okay. So here we get into the nuts and bolts of the profession, the materials, and how it needs to be applied to the project, the responsibilities of all the parties regarding the specifications of the materials, the applications and installations of materials, the furnishing and the labor that needs to go on into all the materials as well. We'll talk about AIA contracts in the various subjects as well, especially in this one as well. And so that's one subject, building design and construction systems, dealing with the nuts and bolts and the materials that are used in the project, and how we need to specify them and document them properly. And then, of course, verify that they're being installed correctly as we're going out to the job sites and making our visits as well. All right. Another subject, just going down the list of the schedule that's on our website here, would be building systems. Now, the old title was mechanical and electrical. So here we talk about the various systems that are implemented into the project as well. Structural, plumbing, mechanical, electrical, fire suppression, communication devices, and the like. And so we go into those specific systems and talk about those systems as well, and how they're implemented into the building. Again, how they're documented and specified by the architect, and then followed up through visual observation during the construction phase as well, making sure that those are being implemented properly. And what happens when we see non-conforming work, and we talk about that in the weekend as well. Okay, when an architect sees non-conforming work, and of course our responsibility is first to bring it to the attention of the general contractor. And if the general contractor responds that they're going to correct it, that's fine. It goes into my notes. If they decide not to correct it, then I need to inform the owner about their right to carry out the work according to the General Conditions A201 section. And I have to inform them as the architect to the owner that they have the right to correct the work, but only after proper notice has been given. Like in law, we always have to notify the other party first before we do something. So we go into all those procedures and responsibilities of each party and such, that type of thing, for each of the sections as well, not only this one, but all of them. And then another section would be structural. And so this is all the calculations and formulas that we use in this profession and in this exam as well. So it could be as easy as sizing a beam, or going into calculations on lateral versus wind versus earthquake, and we use the different formulas for that, and I'll walk you through those as well. And so we have over, I think it's right around 17 or 20 examples and calculations and step-by-step procedures in the seminars. So we cover all that information, okay, in the weekend seminars for structural. And we'll talk about the forces and loads that affect a building as well. And so there's only two elements that affect a building: forces and load. Force is a variable, load is a constant, and so we talk about the theory behind that as well, structural engineering. The objective, of course, is to anticipate the projected loads and forces on a building so that we can, opposite in direction, equal in magnitude, okay, project those same loads and forces so that equilibrium statics occur. And the objective of structural engineering, right, to make sure the building does not have failure in it. And of course, verifying also that our consultant is only following the minimum standards of code and not running away with the schedule and the budget, so to speak. So we have to keep the thumb screws on our consultants, right, by checking their documents. And so this is the reason why NCAR puts us through the rigors of learning this basic information, so we have enough knowledge to challenge our consultants and ask questions and so on to make sure that they're doing the right work they need to, because we are liable for our consultants' work. You've heard that before, right? And so that's structural engineering. We'll go into all of that information. Programming, planning, and practice. The old term was pre-design. Okay, so this is the early stages of the project. And the focus is on phase 1 and phase 2, pre-design site analysis. But it does go into the other sections, other phases of the project as well. And so candidates don't understand, some of the candidates don't understand it. So they go in and they prepare for phase 1, phase 2, for example, pre-design site analysis, and then they get hit with all these other questions relative to the other sections or phases of the project, and they didn't study that. So the comment I hear from candidates on this one is it's all over the place. Okay, so we have to kind of understand that, and we cover those areas as well, all the phases of a project. And the old B163, which was kind of a nice contract that I thought that kind of broke down all the phases and the specific services that occur in each phase. All right, you might want to check that document as well, because that information is still pretty much the same, even though it's changed a little bit in the B102, B201 sections of the new 2007 editions, okay? So that's programming, planning, practice, and then we have construction documents and services. So this is, you have to put your legal cap on for this one, so to speak. And so we have to think like architectural attorney, for example. And when we go into this exam, and we have to know all of the AIE contracts, okay? And the emphasis, of course, would be know the A201 very well, general conditions of the contract for construction, really hit that real hard. And then the B102, B201, the new agreement between architect and owner, okay? And so we go into all of the AIA contracts, you know. And the letter in front of the number on an AIA contract, of course, describes the function of the contract and what phase of the project you're in as well. And so that's something that you have to take a look at, and we talk about all those as well. All the G series and the construction phase, tracking revisions and clarifications, the only two effects on a project, by the way. And we talk about all of that information, the legalities of the AIA contracts, because this exam is AIA contracts, right? They're not going to test you on the specific contract you're using away from AIA contracts. So this exam is commercial-based, theoretical ideal, AIA contracts, okay? It doesn't have much to do with you or your experience, by the way. So if you can remove yourself from the exam and think textbook theory, okay, that's kind of the way we need to answer these questions as well. So procedures and responsibilities by all the parties in this particular exam as well. So that's important to take a look at. And then we'll go into site planning. And site planning is site planning and design. Okay, and so this is talking about the early stages of the project, assessing a site or a number of sites for highest and best use, opportunities and constraints, and we'll talk about matrix setups and such. We'll go into talking about the topography and utilities and access to and from and climatic and green and sustainability and all that site planning and design, right? And then the last one is schematic design. This is the only one of the 7 that is pure vignettes. Okay, so we got the office plan layout, and we have the 2-story block design that we'll talk about as well. So we go through and talk about those vignettes, and by the way, we'll talk about all the other vignettes in the other sections of the exams as well, because when they changed from 3.1 to 4.0, basically they went and and took most of the vignettes and put them into multiple choice sections and dropped it from 9 sections down to 7 sections. So this weekend, the weekend session will be focusing on all those 7 sections of the ARE. Okay. And then what I do while I'm there is I'll set up a schedule for you as well as to what is best to take first, second, third, and fourth as well. And we'll sit down and talk specifically about your needs and strengths and weaknesses and what sections of the exam you feel strongest on, because that's the ones you want to take first. And then we go into laying out a realistic schedule, okay, as well. Now, most candidates have family and relatives, so right around the middle third week of November to the middle of January, I mean, that's just like a window that we do not block any exams in. However, some candidates want to take exams at that time, so we set up a schedule for them. Normally, a candidate would take 1 exam a month, prepare about 6 to 8 weeks preparing for that exam, which is about 25-30 hours a subject. And so we go through and take a look at that as well, and trying to lay out a realistic schedule so that if you have all 7 to take, then within a 7 to 8, 9 month time frame, you're done. Or if you have the holidays to skip, then we'll start, the first of the year, and then by the June, July, you're done. Okay, so that's we have a pretty good success rate. I've been doing this for over 25 years, and I know how NCARB tests. So that's kind of what we cover on the weekend. Now, based on the location, we have different times also for different subjects. So go into our website and look at the ARE schedule number 1 or number 2, depending on where you're located, because I believe we're in about 15, 16 different states. And then take a look specifically at the subject and the time frames for those. All right? And then if you have any questions, you can always call me as well. All right, thank you.